Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a Boeing 737 pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. In today's video, let's have a look at the new turbulence model in the Sim Update 10 of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So a lot of you are currently complaining on the forums that it would be unrealistic and make the aircraft unflyable. So apart from the fact that I'm having trouble hitting the right knobs over here because everything's moving around so much, let's see if it is really that unflyable. I do have to agree with you that PMDG's autopilot does have issues tracking precisely in these weather conditions, and that is exactly the reason why I've just turned it off. But let me tell you this. Airline pilots will from time to time be confronted with weather like what I have in my simulator right now. So let's have a look at what that actually is. In terms of the winds, we will approach Hamburg's runway 23. And for the weather, we have set a direct crosswind at 22 knots, gust 41. Note that this is actually outside of the 737's crosswind limits, so landing in conditions like these would be prohibited. However, I do aim to give you a demonstration that it is still possible to fly the airplane like this in the flight simulator. While I'll also have to duly note that I can do this manually, but that does not necessarily mean that the autopilot is also able to do it. Just like in real life, by the way. In real life, I would never rely on an autopilot to fly the plane correctly in weather conditions like this. So, it might very well happen that the autopilot might just trip off when it senses that it cannot cope with the conditions that it's presented with. In fact, during my line training, that was a very big point that the training captains have focused on when we did our first couple of approaches in strong windy conditions over hilly terrain. So let's go flap 5. You can see the wind vector on the navigation display there. You can see our gusts. You just saw how I set my simulator up. So let's take it down from here. I'll also go a little bit further down than usual with my viewpoint here so that you are able to see my control column. Many of you have complained that it would not be realistic that pilots need to put in so many corrections on the control column here. And the answer to that is that yes, it is realistic. Now just have a look at some of those cockpit videos from Boeing 737s flying in stormy conditions, and this is actually exactly what you are going to see happening in so many cases. Now of course, usually you are supposed to keep your control column as gentle as possible and don't move it around too much, but in conditions like these many pilots actually tend to overcorrect, and to be fairly honest, I am one of those as well, at least in weather conditions like we have it right now. So here we go, 5 miles, gear down, flap 15. Our visibility is around about 2,000 meters, with the cloud ceiling just about above the minimums, so overall, fairly interesting approach here. And flaps 30. We'll use VREF plus 10, because a little bit of the wind component here is actually going to become a headwind component. So this looks about like what I want to see. Note that keeping the airplane on the center line here can be done fairly easily by just setting the track vector on the navigation display in line with the runway track. So that really helps keeping the plane on the center line. So note the runway lights coming in on the left hand side here. Slight tailwind component as well, making things a bit more fun. Almost 160 knots ground speed. But as you can see, the plane is very well flyable. Do a bit of a thrust off.
Minimums.
Continue. I'm basically primarily looking outside now, looking at the poppies, the aiming point, and the runway center line.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And don't flare too much, just throw it down on that runway. Okay, with speed brake up, thrust wheels normal. You will need quite a bit of aileron to keep the wings level, and that is actually realistic for the Boeing 737. So, overall, I tend to say that this feels pretty much like what I'm used to from the real aircraft. And no, it is absolutely not easy to fly this. But if flying in maximum crosswind conditions was easy, then we could also put monkeys in the flight deck, could we? Alright, here we are, down in Hamburg. Let's see the winds, see if the sim changed anything. Yeah, directly cross, 20 knots, gust 37. And how many gusts did we have? 14 per minute, so one like every 5 or 6 seconds. Yeah, so, in my opinion, the new turbulence model is actually absolutely fantastic. I really like it. You need to do something, you need to actively fly that airplane to keep it where you want it to go, just like you have to do in the real airplane. So, in my opinion, I absolutely love it. And even though I know that Asoba has said that they are going to reduce it again, because many people are asking for it, in my opinion that would be a loss of realism, and in my opinion that would really be a loss of a great feature that I really like to see in the simulator. So you can see how much I had to work on the control column when I've been flying this approach, and that is exactly what it is like in these conditions in real life, guys. So I've seen one comment in the PMDG forums that basically said that veteran MSFS 2020 simmers are complaining they cannot fly the airplane. And when I read that comment, my first thought was, that doesn't surprise me at all, because those people couldn't fly a real airplane either. And this is getting us one step closer to what it is like in real life. So guys, fire a simulator up, start practicing, and that is what it feels like.